Bum 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum. I like to ask for some more prayers for myself, and you can pray for me by leaving a dislike on this video. Your dislikes have been very helpful for me, by the way. It's helped me recover from long COVID. It's helped me with my career issues. It even helped with Voyager 1's recovery. I asked for prayers for Voyager 1 a couple of times, and I got a bunch of dislikes. And so dislikes have been really helpful for me. But this summer, I hope to travel out of the country again. I haven't flown on an airplane since before COVID-19, if you can believe it. I had some reservations about flying again because of some drama that I've seen on the news. It seems like every other month we see an article about some drama due to somebody wanting to switch seats or due to somebody not practicing good COVID hygiene and stuff like that. And I have some chronic health issues myself that would create that could potentially cause some of that. I have food allergies, and I sometimes have to tell the person sitting next to me to be a little bit more mindful when they're eating. Now, I would never tell somebody not to eat something, but please be mindful to keep your hands clean and try not to get the food everywhere, stuff like that. Now, 90% of the time when I say that, it goes well. The person acknowledges it and even asks me if whatever food they have would be a problem, or sometimes even, I never tell them not to eat it, but sometimes they'll put it away. So usually it's not a problem, but every once in a while you get somebody who thinks it's their constitutional right to make a mess while eating. And I hope to travel to Poland because I recently just started chatting with this girl that I met 7 years ago while traveling there, actually. And as I was thinking about this, I thought maybe I should book a more direct flight. See, if I can fly from here in Phoenix, at least to somewhere in Europe as my first leg, I find that Europeans are a little bit less arrogant about such stuff, right? I don't want to be, if I fly from here to Detroit or to LA first, there's a much greater probability. I know I'm being a little prejudiced, but it's just my own experience that Americans, especially people who are on these domestic flights, are much more likely to behave like that. So I was thinking about that. So please pray for me, because those are the kind of things that cause me a lot of grief every time I travel. And if you have any suggestions on how to talk to the people on the plane, that would be helpful as well. So for example, one thing I ran into one time was obviously language barriers, right, if I'm flying to Poland. So I now, every time before I travel, I make sure to print out this information in all the languages. So I probably print it out in Polish, German, whatever I needed to, wherever I needed to go. And I could show these people. Now, one time I was in Germany when I showed the person sitting next to me what was going on, and he actually acknowledged it, and he used his phone to translate something, and he said that his son also has issues like that. He asked me for some suggestions. So that was good. We got a good conversation. See, that kind of behavior typically doesn't happen in the United States, right? And so that's the main reason I haven't been traveling a lot. I used to have a fear of flying in terms, I have two different kinds of fears of flying. Now, when I was a teenager, I had a big fear of flying because 9/11 had just happened, and I told my mom I was never going to fly again because she forced me to go to Taiwan the following year. We had a sick family member. She forced me to go to Taiwan, and I told her after the trip, after all this, I'm never going to fly again. Now, my mom said that, you know, your grandparents are very old. Don't you think you need to visit them a few times? And I said, you know what, one day maybe we'll have a bridge over the Bering Strait and I can drive to Taiwan. I'm just starting to learn how to drive at this point in time. And my dad said, are you crazy? You're probably not even going to survive one trip to Taiwan like that. Do you realize how dangerous driving is? Go look up the statistics. How many people die of car accidents every year compared to plane crashes? And I thought about it some more, and I said, you know what, maybe one of these days flights to Taiwan will be much faster. If we can get there in 20 minutes, it might not be so scary anymore. You know, I can put up with a scary theme park ride, right? And my dad just said, okay, maybe that's possible. And we kept it at that. This was back in the early 2000s. Well, unfortunately, not long after that conversation, we had another flying machine that was capable of going to Taiwan in 20 minutes, also crash. And so it scared the crap out of me in terms of flying. I don't fear flying for those reasons anymore. I now fear it for the social anxiety kind of problems, how to deal with passengers next to me who might get rowdy when I bring up some issues like the food allergies, or sometimes I'm not a good person to be rowdy around. Like I tend to escalate things that shouldn't have been escalated as much as. So, for example, I recently got into a shouting match at a board game meetup because when I told somebody about food, I walked away from a game due to food allergy issues, and he told me that it was all in my mind, and that if I really had it that bad, then maybe that's Darwinism right there. And you know what? He actually, I didn't point it out to him, but he actually had it wrong. In a Darwin sense, the food that he was eating that was offensive to me shouldn't have even existed in the first place, right? It wasn't that the allergies to the food was weeding me out, right? But I didn't tell him that, so I got very upset, and that's the kind of issue I run into. But I really need some connections in my life. I just had a really rough year, 2 years, because I didn't have a partner in life. I'm trying to handle everything by myself and all that. Now, if I end up moving to Poland, I was thinking about how I can move all my wealth, to sneak all my wealth outside the country, and so I could just turn all my wealth into some kind of exotic metal that nobody would recognize, right? Especially rhenium or tantalum. I can make a large Buddha out of it and just casually take it to Poland, right? I bring my art all sorts of places. I've gone to art shows in Mexico, never ran into problems like that, and I could start my life all over again, right? I'm surprised that doesn't happen more, right? You would imagine somebody who wants to, a drug dealer who wants to smuggle $1 million across the border, he could just turn it into some exotic metal that nobody has heard about, right? It's just a piece of art, or even turn it into like a piece of jewelry, like a watch made of solid rhenium or something like that, right? Or since I'm going to Poland, maybe turn it into Poland's proudest invention, right? Although you would lose like a few % of it before you turned it back into money on the other side. Right? Or better yet, in a few more decades, the stuff that is now used to make Poland's proudest invention could be worth carrying to Poland. Or right now it would take tons and tons of it, but eventually that stuff could be worth a fortune as well, right? This is the Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum.